Have you ever said something you instantly wish you could take back? Maybe it was a text you fired off in frustration, or a sharp reply in the middle of an argument. In that moment, it felt justified. But seconds later, you realize it only made things worse. We've all been there. Words we can't unsay, actions we can't undo, and what's left behind is regret. The truth is, most of us don't lose peace because of what people do to us. We lose it because of how we react. Studies in behavioral psychology show that close to 90% of the decisions we make each day are driven by emotion, not reason. Think about that for a second. 9 out of 10 choices you make are powered by impulse, not clarity. That's why life so often feels chaotic. That's why we lash out, overthink, or crumble under pressure. The ancient Stoics knew this long before modern science confirmed it. They understood that events themselves are neutral. It's our reactions that create suffering. A Stoic emperor, Marcus Aurelius, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." His point is simple, but life-changing. Peace isn't lost to circumstances. It's stolen by how we respond to them. Imagine this. Someone insults you in public. The natural instinct is to fire back, defend yourself, prove them wrong. But the moment you react, you've handed them control. They pushed a button, and you obeyed. That isn't freedom. That's bondage to impulse. The Stoic way flips this script. Choosing not to react isn't weakness. It's mastery. It's the ability to favor calm over chaos, clarity over confusion, and patience over pride. In a world addicted to instant responses, comments, texts, heated replies, the person who pauses, reflects, and stays grounded holds the real power. That pause is where freedom begins. That pause is where wisdom is born. And that's what this video is about. Over the next few minutes, I'll share with you 7 Stoic rules, practical, timeless, and proven, that show the true power of not reacting. These aren't abstract ideas. They're tools you can use today. In your home, at work, in conflict, in love, even in the silence of your own thoughts. So let's begin with the first rule, the foundation that makes all the others possible. Rule 1, the sacred pause. Think about the last time you got angry. Maybe someone cut you off in traffic. Maybe a coworker dismissed your idea in a meeting. Or maybe it was something small, a message left on read, a sarcastic comment, a sigh that sounded like disrespect. In that moment, your chest tightened, your jaw clenched, and every part you wanted to react immediately, to honk the horn, to snap back, to prove yourself. That urge is natural, but it's also dangerous, because the faster we react, the less we think. And the less we think, the more likely we are to regret what comes out of our mouths. The Stoics had a cure for this. They called it the discipline of the pause. Seneca, the Roman philosopher, wrote, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." He didn't mean silence forever, or burying your emotions. He meant exactly this. When emotion rises, wait before you act. Why? Because inside that pause is your freedom. Science now backs this up. When you react instantly, your amygdala, the part of the brain wired for fight or flight, takes control. It's pure survival mode. But when you pause, even for a few seconds, your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for judgment and reason, switches on. That small gap changes everything. Picture this. Someone insults you in front of others. The instinct is to defend, to retaliate, to protect your pride. But if you pause, even for a breath, you rob their words of power. You show that your peace cannot be stolen by noise. You turn a trigger into a moment of strength. The pause isn't weakness. It's not cowardice. It's composure. Think of a lion in the wild. It doesn't pounce at every rustle in the grass. It waits. It observes. It chooses its moment. That patience isn't passivity. It's power. Here's a practice you can use right now. Call it the rule of 3 breaths. The next time frustration rises, commit to 3 deliberate breaths before responding. Inhale slowly. Hold it. Exhale fully. Repeat. By the 3rd breath, the fire will fade, the fog will clear, and your words will no longer be weapons. You'll have turned them into tools. And remember this. People respect the one who doesn't lash out, the one who waits. the one who stays calm when others lose control. That person is seen not as weak, but as strong, because they are no longer ruled by impulse. So rule 1 is simple, but it's the foundation of Stoic power. Pause before you react. In that pause, you regain control of your mind, your words, and your life. Rule 2, the mirror of the soul. Every reaction you have tells a story, not about the world, but about you. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They believed emotions weren't enemies to be crushed, but signals to be interpreted. A reaction is like a mirror. It doesn't create the image. It simply reflects what's already there. Think about the last time someone criticized you. Maybe they questioned your work, your choices, or even your character. If you knew deep down that their words weren't true, you probably felt calm, maybe even indifferent. But if their words stung, if they triggered anger or defensiveness, ask yourself why. Often, it's because they touched a part of you that already feels insecure. The criticism didn't create the wound. It revealed it. Epictetus, the Stoic teacher, put it plainly. It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. He taught that people don't actually disturb us. Their words are just sounds in the air. What disturbs us is the meaning we attach to those sounds. That meaning comes from within us, not from them. This is why the Stoics encourage self-examination. They didn't run from emotions. They asked, what is this feeling telling me about myself? If anger explodes at the slightest insult, perhaps pride is too tight a grip. If silence from a friend leaves you restless, perhaps confidence hasn't been built yet. If delays drive you mad, maybe patience is still weak. Here's a simple practice. The next time you feel triggered, pause and ask yourself 3 questions. What exactly am I feeling right now? Why is this feeling showing up? What truth about me does this emotion reveal? For example, if jealousy rises when someone else succeeds, maybe it reveals an insecurity about your own path. If fear takes over before speaking in public, maybe it reveals that your self-worth is tied too closely to approval. Each emotional spike is a clue, a teacher pointing toward the areas that still need growth. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, reminded himself daily, if someone can prove me wrong, I will gladly change, for I seek the truth. Notice the humility. He didn't see correction as an attack, but as a mirror showing him where he could improve. This mindset changes everything. Life stops being a battlefield where others make you angry or ruin your mood. Instead, life becomes a classroom. Every frustration, every insult, every delay becomes a lesson. Emotions shift from being storms that toss you around to signals that guide you deeper into self-mastery. So rule 2 is this. See every reaction as a mirror of the soul. Don't fear what it reflects. Look closely, because the moment you take ownership of your emotions, you take back your power. And the more honestly you read those reflections, the closer you get to wisdom. Rule 3, the inner fortress. Imagine a storm outside your window. The wind howls, trees bend, rain lashes against the glass. But inside your home, you're safe, warm, untouched. The storm is real, but it can't reach you. This is exactly how the Stoics viewed inner peace. Not as a life without storms, but as building a fortress inside yourself so strong that no storm can shake it. Marcus Aurelius described it like this. People seek retreats in the countryside, by the sea, in the mountains. Yet the greatest retreat is within your own mind. He knew that true calm doesn't come from escaping life's chaos. It comes from fortifying yourself so deeply that you carry calm with you wherever you go. The problem for most of us is that we build our peace on weak foundations. We rely on praise, comfort, money, or control. And when those things vanish, as they inevitably do, our peace collapses with them. The Stoics taught a different way. They anchored peace to what can never be stolen: values, character, discipline, courage. Think of this fortress as having 3 great stones. The first stone is control of thought. You can't control what happens outside, but you can decide which thoughts you allow to take root inside. When worry begins to spiral, ask, is this within my control or not? If not, drop it. That single distinction is the cornerstone of Stoic peace. The second stone is mastery of desire. The more we crave, the more fragile we become. If happiness depends on status, likes, or possessions, then anyone or anything can rob you of it. But if happiness is rooted in needing less and being content with what you already have, then your peace becomes unshakable. The third stone is courage in adversity. Fear destroys peace faster than anything. The Stoics never denied fear. They simply refused to bow to it. They practiced bravery not as reckless boldness, but as steady endurance. When you choose courage over panic, you reinforce the walls of your fortress. Here's a practice to try each morning. Before you start your day, close your eyes and tell yourself, "Today I may face delays, insults, rejection, or unfairness, but none of these can touch my peace unless I let them." That single thought becomes armor, and when the storms arrive, as they always do, you'll notice something. The insults bounce off. The setbacks don't pierce you. The storm rages, but you remain steady. Seneca wrote, "He who has courage is free." Freedom, to the Stoics, wasn't about avoiding struggle. It was about standing tall when the struggle comes and not breaking. So rule 3 is this: build your inner fortress. Guard your thoughts. Master your desires. Choose courage. Because once your peace is anchored within, no storm in the world can tear it down. Rule 4, emotional redirection. Most people think strength means pushing back, resisting pressure, standing firm, refusing to bend. And sometimes that's true. But the Stoics understood a deeper kind of strength, the power to redirect. They knew emotions were not chains to be broken or enemies to be crushed. Emotions were energy. And like all energy, they could be transformed. Think of martial arts like Aikido. In Aikido, you don't meet force with force. You don't block an attack head-on. Instead, you absorb the momentum, guide it aside, and use it to create balance. The same principle applies to the mind. Anger, fear, grief, they all carry immense energy. Unchecked, they can consume you. But redirected, they can fuel your growth. Take anger, for example. Left wild, it damages relationships, clouds judgment, and leaves you with regrets. But redirected, anger can become resolve. The determination to set healthy boundaries, to fight for justice, to push through difficulty. Fear, when suppressed, paralyzes. But when redirected, it sharpens awareness, prepares you for challenges, keeps you alert. Even sadness, when embraced rather than buried, can deepen compassion, reminding you of the shared fragility of human life. The Stoics never said, "Don't feel." They said, "Don't be ruled by feeling." Marcus Aurelius put it best: "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." In other words, when someone tries to drag you into cruelty or chaos, the strongest response is not to mirror them, but to rise above them, to turn their darkness into your clarity. Here's a simple 3-step method for emotional redirection. Step 1. Identify the emotion. Say it clearly to yourself. This is frustration. This is fear. Naming it gives you distance. Step 2. Feel the energy. Notice what it does to your body. The heat of anger, the tension of fear, the heaviness of grief. Don't fight it, just observe. Step 3. Redirect energy. Ask yourself, how can I use this? Let anger fuel your discipline. Let fear sharpen your preparation. Let sadness soften your heart toward others. Think of water flowing around rocks. Water doesn't resist, it adapts. Yet over time, it shapes even the hardest stone. That emotional redirection in action, soft but unstoppable. Here's a practice you can try. The next time someone insults you, instead of snapping back or swallowing whole, breathe. Acknowledge the sting. Then redirect it into composure. Imagine that your calm presence itself is the answer. What was meant to provoke, you becomes a stage to display strength. Seneca once wrote, "Hardship trains a mind, as labor builds a body." Every surge of emotion is training. It doesn't have to weaken you. It can refine you. So rule 4 is this: redirect your emotions. Don't suppress them. Don't serve them. Transform them. Because when you learn to channel energy instead of being consumed by it, you discover a quiet, unshakable kind of strength. Rule 5, the Phoenix Principle. At some point, life will knock you down. That isn't pessimism, it's reality. You will face losses you never expected, betrayals that cut deep, failures that shatter your plans. The question isn't if these moments will come. The question is, what will you do when they arrive? The Stoics believed adversity is not something to fear, but something that forges us. Just as fire tempers steel, hardship tempers a soul. This is what we might call the Phoenix Principle, the ability to rise renewed from every trial, stronger and wiser than before. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, obstacles aren't roadblocks. They are the road. What life places before you isn't meant to end your journey. It's meant to shape it. Think about your own past. Remember the most painful season of your life. Maybe heartbreak, the loss of someone you loved, or the collapse of something you worked years to build. At the time, it felt unbearable. And yet, here you are, breathing, still standing. Survival itself is proof that strength already lives within you. The Stoics invite us to go even further. Not just to survive pain, but to use it, to let it burn away what is weak and leave behind what is strong. Like the mythical phoenix that turns ash only to rise again, we too can be reborn through suffering. Here's a practical way to live the Phoenix Principle. Step 1, radical acceptance. Stop wishing the pain away. Don't waste energy fighting reality. Acknowledge it fully. This has happened. This is where I stand. Acceptance is the first spark of renewal. Step 2, give it meaning. Ask, what can this teach me? How can this shape me? The moment you assign purpose to your suffering, it loses its power to crush you. It becomes fuel. Step 3, rebuild with purpose. Rising from the ashes doesn't mean going back to who you were. It means becoming someone wiser, stronger, more grounded. Just as a forest fire clears space for new growth, hardship clears space for a deeper version of yourself to emerge. Epictetus, who lived much of his life in slavery, understood this truth. He said, "Circumstances don't make the man. They only reveal him to himself." Pain, in the Stoic view, doesn't break you. It shows you who you really are and who you have the chance to become. So Rule 5 is this: rise like the phoenix. Don't let hardship define you. Let it refine you. Every fall is an invitation to rise stronger. Every scar is proof not of weakness, but of resilience. Because in the end, what threatens to bury you can become the very ground you build your new life on. Rule 6, cognitive distance. When you're caught in the middle of conflict, emotions feel enormous. A small insult can feel like an earthquake. A minor setback can feel like the end of the world. Why? Because you're standing too close. The Stoics taught a simple but powerful practice to solve this. Create distance. Step back. Change your perspective. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to take the view from above. He would imagine rising above the earth, looking down on cities, people, arguments, and problems as if from the sky. Suddenly, what felt overwhelming became small. What felt permanent became temporary. The fight, the insult, the inconvenience, all just tiny ripples in the vast sea of time. Think of it like zooming out on a map. When you're stuck on one street, it feels like the whole world. But when you zoom out, you see the entire city, the landscape, the horizon. That one street is just a sliver of the bigger picture. The Stoics used this mental shift to shrink the power of emotion. When anger surged, they'd ask, will this matter in a week, a year, a lifetime? When fear rose, they'd say, how small is this moment in the scale of the universe? Distance turns mountains into molehills. Here's how you can practice cognitive distance in daily life. First, step outside yourself. Imagine the situation happening to a close friend. What advice would you give them? Most of the time, you'll realize you'd encourage patience, calm, or perspective. That advice is just as valid for you. Second, visualize from above. The next time frustration strikes, picture yourself rising higher and higher, looking down on the scene as if it were a tiny play on a stage. You'll see the actors, the conflict, the emotions, but you'll also see how small it really is. Third, use time as a lens. Ask, will this matter in 10 years? Or even 10 days? Chances are it won't. And once you see that, the urgency drains away. Take an example. Imagine you're stuck in traffic, late for a meeting. Your pulse quickens, your mind races. But if you step back, you realize this is just one of thousands of drives in your lifetime. In a week, you won't even remember it. Why hand the power to ruin your peace today? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." For him, remembering the vastness of life and the shortness of time gave clarity. It made him treat small irritations as what they were, insignificant. So Rule 6 is this: create cognitive distance. Zoom out, step above, stretch time, because when you change your perspective, the grip of emotion weakens. The storm that felt unbearable becomes a passing cloud, and in that space, you find the freedom to respond with wisdom, not impulse. Rule 7, negative visualization. Most of us spend our lives wishing things would go smoothly. We hope the meeting will run on time. The flight won't be delayed. The people we love will always be there. And when life inevitably breaks those expectations, we're caught off guard, frustrated, fearful, sometimes even devastated. The Stoics had a powerful antidote for this. They called it negative visualization, the practice of imagining difficulties before they arrive. At first it sounds grim. Why would anyone dwell on worst-case scenarios? But the Stoics weren't trying to scare themselves. They were trying to prepare themselves. By expecting challenges, they took away their sting. Seneca wrote, "He robs present ills of their power who has perceived their coming." In other words, if you've already rehearsed adversity in your mind, it can't shock you. Instead of being paralyzed by it, you meet it with calm. Here's how it works. Each morning, take a moment to imagine what could go wrong today. The rude client, the traffic jam, the argument, the delay. Then visualize how you'll respond, not with panic or anger, but with patience, strength, even humor. By rehearsing in advance, you're building a mental shield. When those things actually happen, you'll think, I expected this. I trained for this. This practice also deepens gratitude. When you imagine losing what you love, a friend, your health, your home, it's not to darken your mood, but to brighten your appreciation. You realize these things are not guaranteed. They are gifts, and seeing them as gifts makes every ordinary moment more precious. Take an example. Imagine a father picturing a day when his child is grown and no longer runs into his arms. Suddenly, the noise, the mess, the constant questions don't feel like burdens. They feel like treasures. Negative visualization doesn't make life darker. It makes it shine brighter. It's the same with obstacles. If you imagine your plan falling apart, then when it happens, you're not crushed, you're flexible. You adjust, you adapt, you rise. That's the power of seeing challenges before they arrive. They lose their power to control you. Here's a simple practice. Tonight, before bed, write down one possible challenge tomorrow. Maybe it's someone cutting you off in traffic. Maybe it's a project falling behind. Then write down how you will respond with calm. When tomorrow comes, you'll be ready. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, do not expect Plato's Republic. Be satisfied if even one thing makes progress. In other words, expect imperfection. Expect setbacks. Then you'll never be thrown off balance by them. So Rule 7 is this. Practice negative visualization. Imagine the losses, the obstacles, the setbacks, not to dwell in fear, but to sharpen your resilience and deepen your gratitude. Because when you stop expecting life to be smooth, you start seeing every good moment as a blessing and every challenge as an opportunity to practice strength. You just walked through 7 Stoic rules, 7 timeless ways to master yourself in a world that constantly tries to pull you off balance. Think about what they all add up to. First, the sacred pause showed you that a single breath can change the course of an entire conversation. The mirror of the soul reminded you that emotions reveal truths about yourself, not about others. The inner fortress taught you to build peace on values no storm can shake. With emotional redirection, you learned that anger, fear, and grief aren't enemies. They're energy that can be transformed. The Phoenix Principle gave you the courage to rise stronger from every fall. Cognitive distance showed you how to zoom out and shrink problems down to size. And finally, negative visualization prepared you to face life's surprises with resilience and gratitude. Together, These rules are more than philosophy. They're a toolkit. They don't promise you a life without conflict, pain, or chaos. Instead, they give you the power to move through all of it with clarity, calm, and control. Because here's the truth. You can't control what people say. You can't control the traffic, the weather, or the economy. But you can control the one thing that matters most, your response. That's where your freedom lives. That's where your strength begins. Now imagine living this way, not reacting blindly, but choosing wisely. Imagine the weight of regret lifting, because you no longer speak words you wish you could take back. Imagine your family, your co-workers, your friends seeing you as a calm in the storm, the one who doesn't get shaken, who doesn't lash out, who doesn't crumble. Imagine the quiet confidence that comes from knowing nothing outside of you can break the peace you've built within. That's what Stoicism offers. Not escape, not numbness, but mastery. The ability to walk through life with stillness in your heart, no matter how loud the world becomes. So here's the challenge. Don't just listen to these 7 rules. Practice them. Today, the next time someone provokes you, pause. The next time you feel anger, redirect it. The next time pain strikes, rise from it. Each small choice is a brick in your fortress. Each moment of clarity is proof that you're taking back control of your mind. And before you go, I want you to do 2 things. First, declare it in the comments below. Right? I pause, I reflect, I rise. Say it with intention. Let it be your commitment. Second, if this message spoke to you, support it. Hit like, share this with someone who needs it, and subscribe so you never miss the next lesson in strength and stillness. Remember, your emotions are not your enemy. They are your teachers. Your stillness is not weakness. It is power. And every reaction is your choice. So choose wisely. Choose strength. Choose calm. Choose the path of the Stoic.